Hey, so starting out on the Brady Bunch stack, and click on Google Plus. From there, you're going to go over here to this Home button, and it's going to drop down. You're going to select Hangouts. Now, normally we would do a Hangout on air, but instead, we're going to do a Hangout, and maybe you start right there. You click on the button, and it opens up. You can see that in a second we're going to see me.
Okay.
You would invite the person you're going to interview.
All right.
So if you're going to interview someone, you're going to say, like, I'm going to include Marcus from next door here.
All right.
And I know he's got a photo. All right, well, there's his name. And then I'm going to invite him. And so you can see here that I'm on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I would frame myself up. I'd be conscious of, if I'm on camera, where the gap between my head and the top.
Okay.
I want to make sure that I make it look like it's as professional as possible.
Yes.
So I saw one the other day where the person had a ironing board in the background and instant credibility loss.
Sure.
Right? So you want to make it look as professional as possible. So I'd frame it up. You want to make sure that your window's not in the background because the camera is going to adjust for that brightness.
Okay.
And you really want to be able to see my face. So I would most likely shift it this way.
Yes.
And allow that natural light to come on my face, and so the camera wouldn't adjust for that brightness.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But for the sake of discussion, I'm going to do it like this,
That's fine.
and you know
That's
why.
good.
Okay? And I would put myself right about here. I'd make sure that I'm not in a chair that swivels. It's an indicator of being nervous or untrustworthy.
Okay.
The chair you're in, a four-legged chair, is ideal. Because in a four-legged chair, you can't do this.
Right.
Right? And then while I'm talking and while I'm interviewing, I'm looking right in the camera.
Okay.
Wherever the camera is on your computer is where you're going to look. And the reason is we all make relationships through eye contact.
Right.
And it's not different here.
Okay.
Okay? And if you are looking away, you can see that the person is going to have a really hard time feeling like we're having a real conversation.
Yes.
But as soon as I look at you, now I've got your attention and you know that I'm focused on you, and there's something great that happens when people make eye contact. Do you
Yes,
agree?
True. I
Okay.
agree.
So be very conscious of that. You might even put a sticker and an arrow to remind yourself.
Yes.
And then, so like when I'm doing it, I'm looking right into that camera
And you're smiling.
and I'm
right in the
smiling as
camera.
I'm talking, and I'm warming up my face, and I'm talking with my hands if that's the way I normally talk. And then I also, when I do my own, I put my notes. I actually move the camera over.
Good.
Not the camera, I'm sorry. I move the picture over. I really don't need to see this. Once I frame myself up and I know how I want to look,
Right.
then I don't really need to look at that. A lot of times people will keep coming back over here as if they're talking to themselves, and they lose that one-on-one connection.
Right.
So forget about this.
Okay.
I put my notes right here.
And what did you create of them? What are they?
Well, this is in a program called Notes. Are you on a Mac
Yeah.
or a PC?
PC.
Okay, so there's some
Something.
program. I think a really good one is like a text edit.
Okay.
Basic with Word. You have
Yes.
Word, right?
Yes.
Microsoft Word.
Yes.
You have a very large header that's got all your tools up there.
Right.
That's the wrong one to do it with.
Okay.
The smaller the header, the better. And the reason is, while you're talking, you can move your script, your notes up to the camera so it looks like you're actually looking at the camera. And I take this and I even make it smaller.
Okay.
So I stay centered on the camera area.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That's perfect.
And then
Yes.
as I'm doing it, people think that I've got this information up here when in reality I've already created my notes.
Great.
Okay?
Yes.
And as you're talking to people, you know, that's kind of the way, and there's some buttons up here which I'd like to introduce you to. This is a button to invite someone. So if I realized, oh, you know what, I want to get Christina. I go Christina, and there she is, and I'm not going to do it, okay?
Okay.
But I would invite her,
Yes.
and so that's what this button is. This plus button, you're inviting people. All right. Here's your microphone. Oh, wait a second. You don't want to do that, so you mute yourself.
Okay.
Do you see how I did that? It
Yes.
turned red,
Yes.
and if you do have to cough or sneeze, you hit the microphone out of respect to the people that are listening, and then your camera, if for some reason you just sneezed, you can turn your camera off,
Okay.
right? And then you come back on, and it's
Smiling.
there, right?
You're so good.
This button you probably should never have to deal with. Okay, so I'm not going to introduce it to you.
Okay.
And then there's some settings, which is adjusting your camera. Maybe you've got another camera that sits
Yes.
that you would prefer to use. Maybe it's higher quality. Maybe you've got a different microphone, one that's right here, which I often use.
Do you use that if you're on video?
Uh-huh.
Do you?
Well,
Okay.
in a Hangout, if I'm doing a real video interview, we're going to put a microphone behind our shirt that nobody sees, and we're going to clean up that look. But here, if you have a headset, totally acceptable. Okay? And I don't put the microphone right here in front of my mouth because I want people to be able to see me, so I just kind of tilt it down to my jawline.
Okay.
So they can see this and it doesn't obstruct their ability to see how charming I look.
I know.
Okay.
That's good.
And then, so that's really that's the important things there. That's where you establish the camera and the microphone, okay? And also, if you want the audio to come in through your headset, you do it there also,
All right.
okay? And then when you want to hang up, you click this leave call button.
Okay.
If you keep it on, people are going to watch the rest of your day.
Okay.
Right? Because that can be embarrassing. And then over here, you've got some more buttons. So let's talk about it. This is Marcus. What's up, Marcus?
What up?
So I was just showing how you invite people. Thank you for joining, but by all means, feel free to proceed ahead with your work, okay?
Okay.
Thanks so much, man.
Yep.
Well, that was Marcus joining us on the show. And then let's say you wanted to show somebody a slide. You're doing this for Mary Kay, you want to show some samples. So you would hit this button and you would share your screen. And let's say you wanted to show them that list. It'll pop up everything that is on your computer that's open.
Okay.
And so I would share it. And now you'll see that in a second, this is what I'm showing, which is this page, which is this right here.
All right.
Okay? And if I wanted to bring my mouse over to it, you can see that I'm on this page right here, and I can move things around, and people would know about it. Oh, look, I just completed this one. So if you were showing somebody a product, are you following?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you do a PowerPoint
Yes.
slide?
Yeah,
on
exactly.
that?
So I'll show you right now, okay? So now I want to get rid of that, and I'll go to a PowerPoint, which is right here. This is just about our cancer campaigns, okay? So I will share my screen. And I'll look for that file. This is right here.
Okay.
And I'll click on it. And now it's going to pop up in the center of here. Okay, so you can have products you could be showing them.
Yes.
You could be, and then when you want to move this, if you want to you want to show them your next slide, all you have to do is, pardon me, all you have to do is click and it'll change the slides. It takes up a lot of computer processing power to be able to do this. So if you are planning on doing it, you'll notice there's a lag going on here. If you are planning on doing it, my recommendation is only have the essential files open, or you're going to be compounding difficulties for the computer.
Sure.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So when you're done, you hit stop sharing, or you could say present to everyone. But I'm going to say stop sharing.
Okay.
And then in a second, because the computer's over processing right now, boom, I'm back. All right?
Nice.
And
yes.
oh, and then there's one other thing. If Marcus was back on, which I'm not recommending that he does, the screen will, the cameraman has two functions. Either automatic, which the camera will switch to whoever's talking,
All right.
or the camera will switch to allow you to manually switch between my camera and the person I'm interviewing.
All right.
And so the way you do that is if you would have seen here, if Marcus joined us again,
Right.
his picture would be here, and then the one that we've selected, like I just selected, will pop up in the center. And so if you are on auto, the program will just go back and forth between whose voice.
Who's ever? Oh, the voice.
Okay.
Activated. Okay.
It's voice driven.
And driven. Okay.
So if I have it on auto and I'm talking and then Marcus says something, it switches over to him.
Okay.
Okay? But like you and I do, sometimes we both talk at the same time and there's some complexities there, right? So the computer might jump back and forth and be a little delayed. And for most people, that's the best way to do it. If you're going to be showing a slide of a client's while the client is talking, then you're going to want to do it on manual,
All right.
and you're going to want to click off of them and onto your slide,
All right.
so the camera knows by default what you want it to show.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
And the reality is, it's very easy with a little bit of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? With no practice, it's very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to do these interviews, I recommend do a couple of dry runs,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
And I recommend getting a friend that is not in the same room, not next door, in another building. You can practice. You guys can talk on the phone, so you don't have to rely just on this system. You can help them get set up. And when you help them get set up, you also learn and get better at helping somebody like a client.
Right.
And before you know it, you've got a show that you could be doing. Okay? Now, let's talk about how do you get, if you want to, I know you mentioned that you want, I'm going to hang up right here, okay?
All right.
And I'm still recording.
Okay.
But you mentioned that you want to get paid
Yes.
to do this. So I would recommend if it's Mary Kay
Mm-hmm.
and you want to interview some of their reps, is that right, what it is?
Yes.
Then I would look for Mary Kay Cosmetics, because I'm a marketer, and I always want to there's a lot of Mary Kay. Here's a 24 hotline. Here's Mary Kay Cosmetics, which is probably the official channel. This is not it. There's only 5 followers. But what I would recommend is you search around here and you start looking for the actual Mary Kay, the Mary Kay channel. And this isn't either because there's only 57 followers. But you will find one that's the actual official one.
Okay.
And you may reach out to them and say, this is what a crafty marketer does. I'm starting an interview series about Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I want to interview your best reps.
Hmm.
And if you get Mary Kay, the company's support, they could build your channel following like
Wow.
that.
Yes.
Okay, now you can charge.
Okay.
Always think about, when you're trying to grow your audience, always think about a Ferris wheel. Let's look at one, okay? I actually don't think I've ever been on a Ferris wheel for some reason.
Really?
They
Stay
seem a
off.
little bit unsafe to me,
They are.
okay? But this is you. These are groups, organizations, individuals, companies that all have audience larger than you.
Yes.
Okay? And you can do an interview with them. They will introduce you to their large audience, and the traffic, you reach out to them, they do an event with you, and then they flow most of their traffic over to you, and now people start following you.
Right.
You go through this Ferris wheel enough times, and before you know it, you've got a much larger center spoke than you had before.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
So when we do our cancer awareness campaigns, we do this for our, let's say, breast cancer answers, but then we do stuff with the American Cancer Society, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Komen Foundation, Young Survival Coalition, Alamo Breast Cancer. And what we're doing is we are doing interviews with them that are helping us develop credibility, grow our audience while we're interviewing them, and before you know it, we've grown exponentially.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Good. So that's pretty much the big picture overview. I think you've got it all. Oh, one last thing. I didn't show you. Shame on me. Inside of your Hangouts, when you start a Hangout on air, and I don't know if this is an option for let me just do this. I'm going to invite Marcus again, but Marcus, do not join us. But I have to invite somebody, or I can't have a conversation by myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm doing this, there is an app in here called Hangout Toolbox.
Oh, yes.
And this Hangout Toolbox, here it is.
Yes.
You install this app,
Okay.
and you allow, because you want to use the tools,
All right.
and you hit continue because it needs permission. And here's the toolbox. It's loading up on this side. And what you do with this is you give yourself a crafty title. Todd Hartley, CEO, Wire Buzz. And when you hit on, and I turn my camera on, it will, let me turn my camera on, built in. It will put my name below me.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you can do that for your client
Yes.
by showing them to load that Hangout Toolbox bar
Great.
and to enter their lower third. And before you know it, now you've got them looking more professional. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I'm going to hang up, but I'll show you what that finished product looks like. And all right, here you go. This is perfect. You'll see the lower third.
I think I've got a strategy, and I want
See
to
my
get your
name?
guys' expert feedback on it, but I think I have a strategy on how you take content from your Hangout.
So you want to do that with,
Yes.
you want to set that up. It's relatively easy.
All right.
Okay.
Just with that little toolbox.
That little toolbox.
Okay.
And that